Hello,
Hello.
hello. Hello, Mr. Lorenzo. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very good indeed. The sun is still shining here, so can't complain, Steph. How's it going for you, mate?
All good, all good. Yeah, weather's great in sunny London. Although it'll be probably better in Istanbul if a bit of clue to this video. Yeah, no, really good, really good. But I'm just gonna
Pass me back. Take me back in time.
pass you back, yeah, into something I've tried to remove from my brain and my memories. It's quite an interesting game, this one. So we're going to go back to Istanbul final. Obviously, everyone knows what that is. What's it? 2005 May, and probably one of the worst footballing experiences, the most confusing footballing experiences I've ever been in my life. Sitting down and watching that final. Obviously,
Liverpool fans still live off this moment.
Yeah, whilst also kind of being humbled to the situation that they were kind of, it got away with murder in a way, if you know what I mean. But we're talking about that free game that we lost on penalties to Liverpool. And I think this is something that obviously every Milan fan knows. Like, whether you are new to the club or whether you are, you saw it in its prime, you just can't get removed from your memory because of just the sheer uniqueness of that experience. And I thought we could just revisit it because it's something that I probably haven't revisited in a while. But I avoid rewatching the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah,
I avoid
I do.
even the goals that we scored, because I saw a
Yeah.
clip the other day. It was someone go like, "Oh, the Messi pass to who's that? Molina, whatever his name is, the right back against Holland," and it was like, "Oh, this is the best pass I've ever seen." Like at me if you think that something's better. And I sat there and I was like, the Kaka goal for Crespo on the 3-0 is a lot better than that. And but then that got me back to this whole like, fuck, I want to get it out of my head sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that game, man. All right, look, I think there is no way to target this, but for me, it was, I've probably just my emotions watching that game. I was in some sort of like Italian social club place with my dad. And at 3-0, I was very confident at halftime. I was like, take this game to the bank. It's done. And
everyone thought that, mate. Yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
At 10 minutes, I sat there watching each goal go in by Liverpool. And I looked at my dad and I said to him, I was like, what is happening? I mean, I was like 14 at the time. I said to him, what is happening? This can't be happening. Like, and then after that, you just knew we weren't going to win it, despite the moments we still had even in the game to score more goals. It was just a crazy final. Like, can you remember much of it before I sort of go on to the details?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I was a bit younger than you. I would have been 2005. I was 9, just about to turn. No, I would have just turned 10, actually.
Okay, yeah.
But I remember it. I remember it because of Maldini. My parents weren't massive football fans, but it was my grandparents and my like Zio and Zia. They were the big football influences. But my parents loved the national team. And obviously, Maldini scored in the first minute. So my mum loved Maldini and loved watching him play. In the 90s when he was a real big part of the Italian national team. And I remember seeing that goal, thinking, "Oh, we've won." And I remember some of my fan hitting my Zio Mariano. He was just like, "Oh yeah, we've won. Like this is like ui oppa, like done." Like it was like 1-0 first minute. Maldini, captain. What a goal as well. And literally, like it was, we had a super team, and I just remember thinking, I don't even remember the level of player we had until probably about 3 or 4 years later when I understood football a bit more. But I know we had a better team. Like I knew that who we had was incredible. We had a FIFA team. We had a FIFA team. Like, I know that's such a general way of thinking about it. So that was my initial thoughts. And I don't actually, again, due to my age, I don't remember it being upsetting until like afterwards. So your roller coaster of emotions will be a lot more, tangible and realistic to what actually happened at the moment, just because you were that much older and understood more and things. But yeah, man, just the team we had was just silly. Like first minute, I don't even think it was I think it was literally like 1 minute and 2 seconds or something silly.
So obviously, well, within that minute, so Kaka wins a free kick down the right side.
Mm,
Jimmy Traore tackles him, and then simple set piece, but Maldini comes in late. He's just outside the box, but he comes in essentially unmarked.
yeah.
Hits on the volley, but he gets a nice bounce, which Dudek can't save it, and it's the oldest ever player to score in a Champions League final. Is just like, I mean, great story, isn't it, for a team that's about to win it?
Yeah, quite.
And then what proceeded after that was an absolute demolition of control of the game.
We were in their half basically for like 90% of that first half. Like
most attacks were just getting shut down, clamped out by Maldini and Nesta and Gattuso winning the ball back. Seedorf was a fucking ox in midfield. I mean, the starting 11, if you don't know, is one of the best starting 11s I've ever seen in world football.
It's one of the best teams of all time, I would say, to be honest.
Dida, Cafu, Stam, Nesta, Maldini, Gattuso, Seedorf, Pirlo, Kaká, Crespo, and Shevchenko.
And our substitutions were silly. You know, we had like Serginho on the bench, Rui Costa on the bench.
John Dal Thomason. Inzaghi was unfortunately injured, which I still think back, and
he would have scored. He would have scored.
The moment that landed to Thomason's feet, Serginho did a cross in the start of, I think, extra time, and Inzaghi would have buried that. But,
he also would have scored his penalty as well if he was.
Probably. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I think Thomason buried his over the bar. Was the first one, I think. But yeah, so we're dominating possession. We're winning the ball back immediately, having great moments of play. Shevchenko gets an offside goal as well, which is legitimately offside. Kaka's tearing up the pitch as well, just like the thread between like the needle. And then you get to the second goal, and it's an interesting goal because it actually should have been a potential penalty for Liverpool, because Nesta kind of basically like elbows it, and then in the transitional counter attack, Kaka basically just kind of threads through Shevchenko. Shevchenko crosses the ball, which kind of feels like he scuffs it a little bit, but it hits it to a point where like the whole Liverpool defensive line is kind of caught off by it. Crespo backs up a little bit and essentially has the easiest tap-ins, and makes it 2-0. And then not long after that, it's one of the most incredible assists I've ever seen in football, whereas Kaka's essentially just kind of just before the halfway line in half.
Yeah, literally,
what's the thing when you kind of like, is it pirouette, sort of when you spin around?
He just does like a beautiful like not rotation with the ball, but just like drops his shoulder and does like a full 360 spin.
But basically, like and his marker's like Steven Gerrard, who's like the best player on the pitch. And Fred's for them. Fred's this beautiful ball past Carragher, who doesn't have a hope in hell to get to it.
Yeah, Carragher even slides to try and get it, and he doesn't get anywhere near.
Doesn't get nowhere near it, but to the point where Crespo just needs to do this excellent dink, and over Dudek, and it's 3-0. And at that moment, I was, because the laughableness about that goal, as in how much quality that goal was.
I think it took out like 5 or 6 of their players, like their whole back line.
Like if you include like like him just shredding up Gerrard as well with the turn.
Yeah.
And he's just like, they ain't got nothing on us. It's done. Like I said to my dad, I was like, this is done. Like just they're like a wounded animal. Just put him out their fucking misery. And it went into halftime and came out of halftime, and actually didn't look too bad. Like still, once again, we're not like capitulated, but Kaka has a bit of like a half chance, and then it's just a barragement of goals where Gerrard gets the first one, header. Dida probably was a bit asleep. He kind of like somehow power walks his way to left post, and probably should have done a lot better. But the second one, Vladimir Smisa's long range effort, Dida definitely should have saved that.
100%. Yeah. Butterfingers, that was.
Yeah. And then at that point it's 3-2, and it's like momentum, and it's kind of like, the transition. They basically like do a really good play to basically find Gerrard unmarking the box, and then Gattuso takes him down. Penalty. Dida gets the fucking first save by Xabi Alonso, but then the follow-up is get rebounded in.
Yeah.
It's 3-3. And then after that, it's more dominance by us. It's more, like I said, Thomason misses a crucial chance in extra time, but that there was this moment where Serginho again puts a cross in, Shevchenko first time header, and then the follow-up, Dudek's essentially like kind of like on the floor, follow-up rebound gets saved again by Dudek, and I sat there and I thought, this is it. Like, this is just not. It's not for us tonight. It's just a crazy game to think about when you.
It's mental. Can I just read out some of the stats? I've got them in front of me. We had 10 shots on target, right, to their 6. We had 8 off target, so 18 in total to their 7, or 13 in total for them. 4 block shots to their 1, 10 corners to their 4, and 7 offsides, of which there was 1 goal. Their 5. But the biggest thing for me was the fact that we didn't commit one. Like, I think we only committed a handful of fouls in comparison. I mean, it was quite a lot come extra time, but no yellow cards. Like, we were playing the most unbelievable game for like 80% of that. And I do want to say, having obviously, again, you remember it in real time far better than me, but having watched it many times begrudgingly, and as you do, because it's a fascination for Milan fans, isn't it? And also Liverpool fans, really. I know Gerrard gets the plaudits, but I actually think the player that won them the game for me in terms of his position and his ball was Xabi Alonso. I think if Xabi Alonso wasn't playing for them, it wouldn't have even. I thought he was the one. Like, Gerrard was everywhere. Gerrard was just like, he was like a motivator. He was in attack, in defense. But I remember Xabi Alonso was pinging balls left, right, and center and breaking our lines. Man, crazy.
I still think to this day, and it's always good to say hindsight, but like at half time, I always say this: like, you take off. It's a hard one because it's like Crespo's on a hat trick, and Shev is obviously our best player. I mean, I think he won Ballon d'Or season before.
Season before, yeah.
He did, So it's like, who'd you take off? A player on a hat trick, a striker who just won the Ballon d'Or.
Best striker in the world,
yeah. Because basically, like, for me, I would have just taken off one of the strikers and thrown on Ambrosini.
I know you said this, I think.
And that for me would have been like, then it just allowed us to counter through either one, like Shevchenko and Kaká, and then allow Seedorf to kind of be the sort of, like, if you look to how we won 2007, was actually like that. And but like, and if things got a bit sour, we need to pivot back to an attacking line, then you got John Dale Thomason. But I think it was just we did basically lapse concentration in that second half. And like the second goal, like Kaka's like tying his shoes up when there's a throw in on the left side, and Shevchenko does come back to like defend, but like you're like, and then Seedorf basically is like he closes out the first, basically the ball gets to midfield and for Liverpool, the midfielder, but they pass it one more time, which is then basically to Smisa, who gets a long range shot off. But I feel like if we had an extra body in that midfield to help out with to nullify that attacking moment right there for Liverpool, that wouldn't have led to anything, and then we would have just been able to stabilize and potentially actually create more from the counter attack if they then committed more men forwards. Because you can't deny Shevchenko and Kaká, but a bit of me in that moment would have said the safer option, and probably wasn't an option on the table because the way we were and the way we saw that first half out, which was just dominance. We probably thought we were going to score a fourth and a fifth, but
that's what I think it was, because I as good as Gerrard was, he was definitely the best English midfielder at the time, and probably one of the best midfielders in the world at the time. There's no denying that. I don't think Liverpool won this game. We lost this, and I still maintain that. I'm sorry, and I think it's because there must have been. I know there's reports that we celebrate at halftime with Nesta and Maldini come out like, no, we didn't do that. Like, who would do that? We were obviously professional, but I think we knew we were better. Like, we knew we were better, and I think we were like, instead of winning the game and be like, let's just stick it at 3-0, and if we get another one, great, and if they score, but let's just shore it up. We were like, let's get 5th, let's get 6th, let's get 7th, because we wanted to pummel them and pummel them and pummel them. And I think that's probably, like you were saying, that's why we kept those strikers on. Again, in hindsight, we had, like you said, a Ghana hat trick and the best striker in the world. So hindsight's everything. But we lost this, man. We lost this game.
The pragmatic mindset would have been, especially as an Italian team, would have been. And a bit of me kind of feels like disappointed because, like, I remember the year before we played Deportivo La Coruña in the quarterfinals, and we fumbled that. We 2 legs, obviously difference, but like we kicked their ass in the first leg at San Siro, I believe, and then they destroyed us in the second leg, and we went out. And I feel like we should have learnt from that game, and we didn't. and a bit of me with a pragmatic mindset would have gone back and gone, 3-0's a good, it's fucking fantastic. Let's see this out. 45 minutes. We have some of the best defenders in world football. And let's put in an extra man in midfield. I just feel like something could have been done. I mean, obviously, like, it's easy to say that when you fumble what is one of the biggest games, historical games in world football. But that for me is the answer. And obviously some moments as well that could have gone either way afterwards, where Shevchenko should have buried that that goal with a rebound and other moments too. But
Fuck Dudek though. Fucking Dudek, man.
Dudek, yeah, and the penalties as well was bullshit too.
Yeah,
Like, the guy was like 10 meters off his fucking line. But
apparently that rule was changed like the year later, because at the time everyone was like, "Oh yeah, he's no," but apparently it wasn't.
Jesus, like that,
it was a
like,
rule. Yeah, it wasn't like enforced as stringently.
Oh.
It was like a goalkeeper shouldn't, unless he was like, 10 meters off, they're going to say no. But they took advantage of that, and
it's crazy, man.
Dudek wasn't even that good. Like, he wasn't even that good a goalkeeper.
I will say Dida was doing some of that shit in Manchester in 2003. Like, not as bad, but like Dida was doing some of that sort of stuff in that final against Juventus.
Yeah,
but it was the thing that keepers do and they could get away with. But he
did
back another level, man.
Yeah.
I think it was like, I'm rewatching that, and it's crazy. Like, no player actually kind of said like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, the guy's literally, 5 meters off his line. But by the time I've taken my shot, it's crazy. But yeah, it's a crazy final. It's something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. But it did make winning in Athens all that more sweeter, because it did feel like it was a revenge thing. And to your point, it was like, even Crespo was like, I think there's an interview where he says he was considering retiring from football after that final, just due to the sheer shock of probably what
how this happened.
Yeah, and probably what they thought was kind of like justice in a way, which was, it felt like a smash and grab sort of final for Liverpool. But
absolutely was. They shouldn't have even been in it. They should. I remember the Olympiacos game. Again, not at the time, but looking back at the whole tournament and thinking, how the fuck did they beat Olympiacos? Olympiacos was all over them. They weren't even a good team. They were like 7th or 8th in the Premier League that season and things like that. So, but look, we've done it before. We've won Champions Leagues while being crap under Capello, I believe. So,
it's what it is. It's what it is.
I think I'd love to know what everyone else thinks. There'll be people listening of different ages, like younger than me and older than you, and and remember things in different ways. Because, like you said, Steph, at the start, no fan will ever forget this. No. Even though we want to forget it, it's almost kind of, I wouldn't say it's nice to be part of history, because we're at the wrong end of it. But it is one of the most momentous storylines in football. Especially when you factor in, obviously, the Champions League win over them 2 years later, which I just want to say, remember, guys, if you're ever negative, there's always, after Istanbul, there's always in Athens. Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that.
It's actually, if it wasn't for this final, actually, I don't think it's the final that got me, the game that got me closer to Milan as much as possible, which kind of a bit poetic way to say it, because it was after that game when I was growing up in a North London school, where a lot of Arsenal fans were giving me shit about Milan, my club, and it pulled me away from being what at the time was an Arsenal fan, because I felt a bit more defensive of Milan, and then I fully bought into Milan, and that made the Athens final, as you said, much more bittersweet in a way. To go like, we've made up for this, and it felt like 2 years in the making. So there was a bit of beauty that came from it for me. But interested to hear what people's thoughts were and their memories to that final, which probably a lot of people will never forget.
20 years soon since we last won the Champions League.
20 years in
Isn't that mad? Oh my god, it's not even that long away.
20 years in a month's time, it will be when that final was at. That's crazy.
And then 2 years in a year and a half, it will be just over 2 years. It will be 20 if we don't win one, which I don't think is going to happen. It'll be 20 years since we last won the competition. Crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's all I want to say is my last thoughts. If you're ever feeling negative, especially right now about Milan, remember, there's always, after Istanbul, there's always Athens. So we'll be fine. I hope.
Our Athens is, I don't know what that's going to be, but man. So pleasure. Anyone chipping in on this one? Bit of a blast of the past one. I've always, it's an interesting one. This is obviously it's easy to talk about the present, but This is something that even my mates talk about quite a lot. How did you fumble that one and stuff like that?
It's
So
nice to think about in a way, not in a way, but it's like it's a thought experiment. It's like the what if, so many what ifs, you know.
Hopefully, also in an environment where we're all kind of Milan fans, we can all have the same feelings of it, as opposed to kind of feel like we're gonna have to talk about it being red in the face. So yeah. But no, that was all for me, mate. But yeah, been a good one to talk about, despite despite its sour memory. But yeah, Lorenzo, you do the sign off. But from me, everyone have a good week. And hopefully we see a Champions League final soon, one day. But
God, mate, that's the dream, isn't it?
To you, Mike. To you, Mike. Sorry, to you, Lorenzo. Mate.
I'm gonna do the shameless plugs. Guys, obviously, thank you always for tuning into the pub chats and everything else that we put out at Simple. And I think just want to say that it's been a crappy season, and even if not just listening to us, the fact that you're engaging with the club is just awesome. I mean, even for us, it's quite tough, but we love it. It's a passion, and so thank you for always, tuning in and listening to our ramblings. We'll be back. We'll be back next week with another edition. And what's our next game, Steph? I'm sure whenever it is, it will be.
It will be, and it will be probably disappointing to watch, but and we'll be picking that one up as well. So
thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.